So this was 2 to 3 years ago in India, and my father and I were driving home from a wedding. I don't know how much y'all know about weddings over there, but this was a 3-day event that involved the entirety of 2 middle-of-nowhere-nothing villages. It was a huge deal, and we were the only white people the majority of these folks had ever seen, so beyond the bride and groom themselves, we were the best guests. This meant near constant attention, no relaxation or any time to ourselves, and sleep came in the form of a concrete slab of a bed with a thin blanket over it, nestled snugly in between apparently every drunk uncle the village could hold, all passionately arguing for hours about something in Hindi. I think it was maybe the music, which also constantly blared from concert-sized speakers through the whole village. It was safe to say, by the time we left the wedding, we were already extremely sleep-deprived and out of it. This isn't even the fun part, though. Through an odd chain of events that isn't totally related to this story, while driving home on the single-lane road that had traffic in both directions, dodging donkey carts, groups of scooters, and other drivers at about 120 kilometers per hour, or 72 miles per hour for us freedom uniters out there, we get in a head-on collision. I remember realizing what was going to happen a few seconds before it did, closing my eyes, loosening my body, making sure my tongue would be okay, and then bam, the world turned upside down, and then again, and again, and one more time. Our car flipped 4 times, landing upside down in an overgrown field near the spot of the accident. The other car was mostly gone, and what was left of it was still on the road. Glass was everywhere. My dad was unconscious. My lehanga was ripped to shreds, and there were suddenly voices all around me. I remember being extremely confused and dazed. And I hurt. Why did I hurt? Dozens of people had apparently stopped to flip the car back over to help the American tourists out. A few people pulled me out through the left-hand broken window and immediately went back in to help my father on the driver's side. I, extremely confused, exhausted, and scared, most likely concussed, I later found out definitely concussed, wandered over to the road and the other demolished car. I could hear a siren in the distance. An ambulance? Cops? I didn't pay attention. Where were my shoes? Suddenly, a man had his arms around my shoulders and was ushering me to an unknown white car a small distance from the wreck. "I will take you to the hospital," he said. I asked where my father was and a few other questions. He mostly ignored me. "He is fine. Come on." He pushed me forward, and in a daze I followed, asking about my things, my shoes, my dad. All I had was my phone, which was still in a death grip in my hand. He ignored me. "Do not worry. Hurry, get in the car." I did as I was told, though I remember asking a few more times about my shoes. I was barefoot and limping. I remember being focused on my right foot, how it wouldn't work, basically ignoring the guy guiding me away from the accident and the rest of the people. Why did it hurt so much? And where was my bag? The man urged me forward some more, making promises that my things were fine. He had them already. Just get in the car. I was barely paying attention, slowly following. Where was my dad? At that point, I guess the man decided I wasn't moving fast enough. He wrenched my phone from my hand, maneuvered me into the back seat, and slammed the door behind me. He was walking around to the driver's side when an ambulance pulled up. I struggled with the door, saying I'll get into the ambulance instead, that my dad must be there. And where were my things? No. He slammed the door again, locking it this time. Be quiet. At this point, I started crying and was still confused trying to open the locked door, blubbering that I needed my things. He insisted he was helping and to shut up. Shut up. Just shut up. He rushed around, opened the driver's side door, and was about to get in when I heard an almost roar-like sound erupt to my left. Suddenly, my father was there, bleeding, limping, ignoring the chaos all around us and angrier than I've ever seen him. "Get my fucking daughter out of your fucking car." He grabbed the man, who was halfway in the vehicle at that point, and threw him to the ground, unlocked the backseat door, and rushed around to pull me out. "Dad, where are my shoes? Does he still have my phone?" I obliviously asked to thin air, as my father was already back a few feet away shouting, hands around the man's throat, demanding my phone. With a terrified look, the man pulled it out of his pocket and threw it several feet away, causing my dad to drop him on the pavement in one swift motion and bound after the device. At that point, the man hurriedly climbed into his car and sped away while I made my way to the back of the waiting ambulance, still not really processing what just happened. My dad materialized on the bench next to me a few seconds later, my cracked phone in hand, and enveloped me in a huge hug while saying how scared he was. The paramedics moving all around us, securing everything and preparing for the drive to the hospital. Everything after that is a story for another time. But to the random Indian man who most likely tried to abduct me from the accident, let's not meet again. It was my third time driving to Chicago with my single mother. Her brother and sister-in-law lived in the suburb of Homestead, and during this point of my life as a 9-year-old, my parents had just begun a nasty divorce and my dad was taking all of my money. I found this out in the car ride down there, where she was screaming and crying on the phone and trying to avoid swerving into other lanes on the highway. Not that there were many. Looking over to the gas valve, I observed that we were quickly running out of gas. My mother hung up the phone and took an exit that led pretty much to the middle of nowhere. I'm pretty sure that we were still in that little stretch of Ohio that needs to be passed through to get to Illinois, based off of the isolation of it. The gas station was small and independently run, or at least I don't remember it looking very much like a gas station that I had been to before. Its neighbor was a McDonald's that had closed the main restaurant for the night, which now isn't the case in 2016. There were a few other cars there, and our little Honda decided it would be a wonderful time for its battery to die. We tried pouring Coke on it to erode the gunk off of it. We called AAA, but they said that they couldn't tow our car until the morning, and there wasn't a motel in sight. We had no other choice but to alert the workers of the gas station. The man at the counter, who was Indian, said that he needed to call the owner because it was about to be closing time. Immediately, I knew something was wrong because gas stations didn't close, right? My mother, who was already upset and a hot mess, decided that we needed to call my uncle to come meet us halfway and drive us the rest of the journey to Chicago. He told us that it was going to be about 2 hours for him to be able to get us, and we had to stay put. The gas station owner comes, and as soon as I saw him, I knew that there was something very, very wrong. His clothes were fine, but his eyes were hollow, and his smile was almost waxy. This man was so fake, so stupidly happy to see a beautiful single mother and her frightened, small child, that it was enough to make anyone alarmed, if there was anyone else there. Let me just say I don't know what happened next. My mother and the owner of the gas station conversed near the register, probably trying to come to a compromise, when I heard my mother say, "What do you mean we can't sleep in our car? Where else are we going to go?" His response, "Just let me drive you someplace safe. There are some hotels a few miles up the road." My mom, in her messy, upset, and emotionally drained state, agreed. Then, my mother led me through the back of the gas station where I saw pictures of multiple young girls dressed scantily on a bulletin board in his office, and then I got really afraid. The owner told us to hop into his car, and we actually did. I started to sob hysterically because I honestly knew then that my mother and I are about to have an Amber Alert on us if we didn't get out of this vehicle. My mom noticed my fear, and she tried to console me, but when it wasn't doing much, she told him that we were getting out. By now, the car hadn't yet pulled out of the gas station, and the owner began to protest. "Nobody will get here until morning. You can trust me, I know the area." "You two beautiful women can't be out here alone. I'll take care of you." But still, my mother forced us out of the car. Sobbing, we walked to the McDonald's where the kind staff let us in and allowed us to stay until my uncle made it to the area. I had never been so glad to see that man in my entire life. I noticed the owner was watching from his car. Thank God I haven't seen him again. To the owner of the middle of nowhere Ohio gas station, let's not meet again.